Hello, everyone, again. I have few study results, but I'm going to go through very quickly. Let's just talk a little bit about the immune system and how it, of course, we don't understand everything about it, but there is a lot of research going on. So the most sophisticated organ in our body is brain, but a lot of people now are pointing out that the immune system is probably just as sophisticated as the brain. And it is governed by so many things, including the bacteria. So you may have seen in the news, there are two papers, one from MD Anderson, one from France. And what they discovered is the type of bacteria that reside in your gut really determine the response to immune therapy that are all these fancy drugs that are out there. So the MD Anderson study, what they did was they took about 120 or 130 patients with melanoma. They all get immune therapy drugs because it seems to work much better in melanoma than in many other cancers. And I'll show you one slide why that may be the case. And they studied the so-called microbiome, or the gut bacteria. And they could determine that certain patients respond to these drugs if they have certain type of bacteria, certain either diversity of bacteria or particular type. And then they did something very sophisticated. They took the mouse model and took the bacteria from the patient and put it in the mice and treated the mice and could show that those bacteria, if they are in the gut of the mice also respond to the same immunotherapy. So that could mean that immune system is governed by so many things that we're just beginning to learn. The second thing to understand, and I think most of you already know, that in the DNA, our DNA, there are only 4 letters, TCGA. And it just depends on how you sequence those 4 letters. You can have a bacteria, or you can have a dinosaur, or you can have a human being, or you can have a whale, just with those 4 letters. So our immune system is very sophisticated in able to read the bacterial sequences, which are, of course, translated into protein. So the immune system can read the amino acid sequence and say this is a bacteria, and it will jump on it. Same thing for viruses. But whenever it encounters any of the human sequences, it is inhibited. That's the way we evolve. So it doesn't attack our organs, and that is called tolerance. But if you have slightly more abnormal human sequences that are above the tolerance range, you get autoimmune disease. So as I mentioned earlier to you, that most of the cancer proteins are pretty much normal. So the immune system is hesitant. But we can unleash that hesitation by these newly developed drugs. And that's why the field has become very, very interesting. So let's go through few things. This is just to show that many of us are busy doing so many trials to find better treatments for gastric cancer, and only few in the red letters have been positive. This is not a complete list. I'll have to have like 10 slides to show you all the trials. Okay, so this is an effort that I mentioned to you earlier today by the federal government, where they basically sequenced many tumor types. And each box here represents one tumor type. This is one tumor, this is another. Here is the stomach cancer. And basically what we are looking at is this is DNA from the cancer of patients. So we are looking at, if you look at the stretch of DNA, how many alterations are there compared to the same patient's normal. So you take patient's normal DNA and the tumor DNA, and you find out how many per stretch of DNA, how many alterations are there. The highest one is actually melanoma right here. Then there is lung cancer, then there is head neck cancer, and so on. But the stomach is right there. And what that means is if you have more alterations in the DNA, you're more likely to produce abnormal protein. And even then, the immune system is not attacking the cancer because, again, because of the tolerance. So what some of the new drugs do, they remove that tolerance, and then immune system can attack. That's why melanoma people like Jimmy Carter, they're doing extremely well with just a single drug. So can we go back? So just want to show you a couple of trials that have produced very interesting results. This trial was performed in Japan, Korea, and Taiwan. And basically, they took patients who have had already 2 treatments, 2 regimens for advanced gastric cancer. And then they offered them to go on this trial. And the patients were receiving this drug called Nivolumab, which removes the inhibition of immune system, or they got placebo. And this is a blinded thing. So the patient didn't know whether they were getting real drug or not. And also the doctors didn't know what the patients were getting. And we can skip this. But here you can see that patients who actually got the real drug, they had a response rate of 11%. And those who really got placebo, they had no tumor shrinkage whatsoever. But more important than this, so this is the tumor shrinkage. Here you can see in the Nivolumab, all these tumors are shrinking. Placebo, you have to cross this line to be considered a responder. So there are no responders. And this shows that the duration of response in some patients is extremely long. And I say that because we rarely see that with chemotherapy. So with chemotherapy, what can happen is the tumor can shrink down in even 50% of patients, but then the duration of shrinkage is very short. With the immune therapy, it seems to be very long, and that may be because of memory. So our immune system also has memory of the things that it attacks. It can remember later on. So the unfortunate thing about, we are on that trial. Unfortunate thing is that most patients had an increase in cancer. So that is measured by these lines. So you can see whether they got the real drug or they got placebo, they really did not have any benefit. So this is a real challenge for all of us because we need to identify what is the reason these patients over here did so well and these patients did not do so well. And that's a challenge for all of us. And again, here also you can see that the patients who got placebo, they did not do well over the long run. We're talking about months. So at 14 months, most of them did not really survive. But the patients who got the real drug, immunotherapy, what we call it a tail to the survival curve. So then there is a group of patients who are surviving way beyond, and this is again, remember, this is the 3rd, 4th, or 5th line of treatment. So they're expected to do like this, but they're actually doing like this. So this is a real improvement in the care of patients with advanced gastric cancer. We don't see that with chemotherapy. So there is another drug called Pembro, and I'm just going to be very quick. Now we're going to look at the drug Nivolumab, and I showed you that trial. And then there is also some data with Pembro. And you can see the results are very similar. Here's the tumor reduction with Nivolumab, and here with Pembro. And this is what we call the progression-free survival. So one thing to recognize that the Pembro trial was everybody got the drug. It was not randomized. But the shape of the curve here is very similar to this curve with Nivolumab. And this is also, we are looking at the long-term survival of the patient. So you already saw this curve. Here also we can see the tail. So the good thing is that based on these data actually, the FDA has approved Pembro for the third-line treatment if they have that PD-L1 protein in the tumor cell or immune cells. So we can talk about that at a later date. And very soon, this drug will also be approved in the United States. So at least we have another drug that is being approved. So we have had this docetaxel chemotherapy a long time ago. It was approved. Then ramucirumab, and now we have this. The Herceptin was approved for only small group of patients. Okay, so this is my last slide, and I didn't realize it's going to come out like this. But this just shows you that there are many other trials that are on the way, and we will have results. And I think the treatment landscape of gastric cancer will change even more. And that's what we need. We need more options for the patients, and we want our patients to live longer. And longer they live, better treatments they will be able to have, because the field is changing fairly rapidly. So thanks a lot.